Welcome everybody to another episode of Hot Program. I am your host with the most, all the way from the East Coast. And of course, as always, folks, I am in...
We have a powerful cumulative
airplane
case.
mode, and I am joined by a man who, if he was Canadian, would say that Christ had died on Calgary. A man who needs no introduction. How are you doing today, my one black friend?
I am well. There's a lot of confusion about Jesus. Was he Middle Eastern, black, white, Chinese, whatever? He was supposedly this really nice guy, and probably the nicest people you're going to meet are Canadian. So I don't know, or Georgian.
So Joseph Smith had the right continent, wrong country.
I believe so.
Yeah,
probably the case. Close, but no cigar.
So today's topic is kind of interesting because it's kind of localized to us in a kind of interesting way, but then again, it's not. So Lupin, Wolf Den, Red Pill Gaming, he's got a bunch of channels. He's somebody that we've interacted with because he came over to my channel following the Kent Hovind debate, which, you know, to be honest, was kind of a nice thing because we don't know how many fans or viewers or subs we gained from the Kent Hovind debate. My guess would be not many. And certainly not a lot of them have been vocal. So it was kind of nice to really start to interact meaningfully with someone who is a Kent Hovind fan and considers himself sort of on the other side of a lot of these issues. But since then, it's become clear that Lupin is a really poor judge of character. And I think he's a poor judge of character because he has poor character.
No.
I don't think it's a coincidence, right? I think he has some really sort of weaponized view of the world and other people who are not like him. And he then seeks out people that are going to lead him further down the wrong path. And it reminds me almost of the Rebecca Davis, Sal Cordova situation, where a lot of us saw Rebecca Davis from Bread of Life. You're probably familiar. We saw her as sort of a nice, sweet, neighborly Christian lady who happens to have a channel. And then there's this Sal Cordova guy who's this sort of fake anti-science, fake intellectual guy. And he's coaching her up in the wrong way, right? She's like his, tutor, and he's her tutor rather. And we sort of put more responsibility on Sal, right? Because he was the one who quote unquote knows better, right? Poor Rebecca. And this is me. Like part of my beef with Sal was he's ruining Rebecca, type of deal. We've now come to understand that, of course, it's much more complicated than that. Or I shouldn't say much more complicated than that, but it is a little bit more nuanced than that. And in reality, Rebecca is her own problem here. She seeks out Sal Cordova's guidance. She knows full well people don't think he's qualified or, leading her in the right direction. And when she goes to him, she deliberately goes to him in disingenuous ways. Tell me what to say. She's looking for talking points rather than looking for understanding. So being a grown-ass woman, to me, it'd be wholly inappropriate at this point to keep putting the emphasis on the teacher, not recognizing she's getting the class she registered for. And she registered for this class because this is what she wants. And I think the same thing can be said about Lupin. Since we've come to meet Lupin, we understand now he used to identify very heavily with the Proud Boys, and at one point, I think, aspired to be part of the Proud Boys. So he had like a Proud Boys gamer tag or something like that. I mean, it was pretty like he was trying to let people know that's what he was down with, right? He made these sort of Call of Duty and conspiracy. I want to say, people say Netflix and chill. His stuff was like Call of Duty and conspiracy kind of videos, because he'd make these videos playing Call of Duty and talking about how the Las Vegas shooting was a false flag operation for the CIA and the FBI and all this stuff.
Always a conspiracy.
Always a conspiracy. Huge Trump supporter. I'm pretty sure he's anti-vax, anti-evolution. Then we had some real problems with him. We were having a conversation with Lena and sort of tried to get into Lena's pronouns in a way that wasn't appropriate during a conversation. And then since then, we've seen him talk about the queer community in a way that, he talks about it being disgusting or gross. And we've had these conversations where we've sort of brought out, like, because he basically thinks that, people who demonstrate affection and homosexual relationships in public should be stopped, right? Like, that should be a crime. But
well, didn't he want to be a Proud Boy? I know they've been remarkably absent from Gay Pride Month events, but with a name like that, I would think.
Like, seriously. But he doesn't think the same thing. But he thinks he doesn't think the same thing about heterosexual couples. So we've now just seen a bunch of his content where it's gotten really weaponized, and I say that all just to kind of catch you and our audience a little bit of background of what we know so far about Lupin.
Sure.
And we've had plenty of conversation with Lupin, and we just really think he's consistently following bad people.
I want to jump in. I have to say something.
Sure.
So if gay people expressing affection for each other in public bothers him, I have wondered if that bothers people, because when heterosexual people do it, it may or may not bother them. So some people, it bothers them when anybody does it.
Right.
Other people, okay, if the other side or whatever,
right.
Others, if they do it, it bothers them. But I've often wondered if a lot of religious people are frustrated with the fact that truthfully, like in who they really are, they don't think that's bad. However, they have a book that tells them it is, and they're governing so much of the rest of their life by that there's a conflict there, which is why they might be nasty about it sometimes, because they're not reasoning through why they should just...
Oddly plausible.
Huh?
Oddly plausible.
Yeah, I heard a voice. Whose voice was that?
Oh, that's to Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson.
Sound effect.
Okay, thanks for putting Jordan Peterson on the podcast today. Jesus died on Calgary, Jordan. But yeah, I have wondered that, because again, religious people, Christian religious people, do have to fight that fight within themselves a lot of the time. If they aren't simply nominal Christians, where that's what they call themselves, and the details aren't really important.
Right. It's a good question. I don't know. With Lupin, he expresses this really serious and deep revulsion to homosexuality, and he's made recent streams about it, where he's effectively going off. But to your point, it's about the book. He's going, the Bible says it right there. For man to lie with a man the way he does with a woman is abomination, and they surely shall be put to death, and all this stuff. So That's definitely where he's getting the justification from. Now, to tie it into another little piece that he's going to touch on here is this whole Brett Keane falling out with Kent Hovind. And for those of you who don't know, Brett Keane is a guy, I covered him last night on my stream. James covered him, and Nitty also covered him over the weekend. He is a, for lack of better expression, washed up apologist who seems to be really dishonest about his own background, but also the way he approaches conversations with atheists. And we found out who he is because through James's channel, he's tried to get a number of us to go onto his channel to have quote unquote conversations with Kent Hovind that are really just traps, so that, you know, we can get ambushed kind of like 3-on-1.
How have I avoided this?
Yeah. Good luck, apparently. But we haven't gone on, but some other atheists have. They've all been shit shows. They're just not good. Brett Keane's not a genuine person about this. But now there's this sort of tension that's come about because he was basically trying to make, he had a channel that got canceled or deleted or whatever. But he's been trying to make his new channel largely through association with Kent Hovind. And I guess he's wanted this entire time for Kent to promote him a little bit heavier on Kent's channel. Kent's people haven't done that for one reason or the other. So he's recently canceled a show that he had with Kent Hovind. This is Brett Keane. Brett Keane canceled the show he had with Kent. And he did a whole stream throwing Kent under the bus for all the controversy that Kent's been in, the stuff with the children, the domestic violence, just his overall shady nature overall. But it was real problematic because it became very clear that although he was throwing Kent under the bus, he was basically asking for another chance. And really his complaint was Kent didn't do him a solid. So this is a problem for us. It's like, oh, you have morals all of a sudden, but you only have morals because you didn't get what you wanted from Kent, right? And so now you all of a sudden are going to take a bit of a moral high ground. So I mentioned that backstory because Lupin is a Kent Hovind devotee. And so in this video, he is going to be basically defending Kent Hovind, I imagine. That's typically his MO. And I wanted you guys to understand a little bit of what's going on. Now, leading into rolling some tape here, the thing I want to set up, the reason I did a stream about this is a few things, now that you guys have a little bit of this backstory. Number one, we asked Lupin. Lupin's recently spent about a month or so at Dinosaur Adventureland. Really liked it. Loved the Christian community.
Season pass.
Huh?
Season pass.
Yeah. Season pass, seriously. Staying on there, loved it. Was helping Kent with his shows and everything. He claimed to be very well aware of the controversies around Kent, but basically thinks it's all a big, conspiracy or whatever. People are out to get Kent and all of this. So it's going to be very interesting to hear him now cover a falling out between Kent and Brett, where Brett is trying to be very clear about Kent's problems, and Lupin is somehow doing in all of this in a stream about, is he a good person? So it's going to be kind of tough, right? This is what we're going to be trying to get into here. Like, it's a bit tough here because, again, Lupin keeps overlooking the obvious problems with Kent Hovind, but I guess he's going to somehow be calling Brett Keane a hypocrite or something. Like, it all gets really, really weird because it's like Lupin, I think, is probably going to argue that Brett Keane has been inappropriately using Kent Hovind and blah, 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 which I totally agree. But Lupin's trying to do the same thing. And then here's the bigger picture about why I thought we needed to cover Lupin's stream. And again, I haven't seen it because I wanted to react to it with my one black friend today. I thought it'd be a good show. I think there's too much of this going on in our community. Lupin, to me, like I laid out my case, I think he's a bad dude. Mm-hmm. I know this is unpleasant to say, but we all know that there are people in the world you consider to be good guys and bad guys. There are short people and tall people. There are smart people and dumb people. But we all have a hard time saying somebody is, we think somebody's stupid. We all have a hard time saying, yeah, no, I think this person has a bad character. Yeah, I don't think they're a good person.
Mm-hmm. The Trump years have helped me come out and say this sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think that we're in real danger when we can't say that. I think of it as like a video game. If you play one of those shooter video games, you know, maybe at the arcade or at home or something, and it's like people pop up and you have to quickly identify them and shoot them, basically, right? And you're supposed to be able to, you know, shoot the bad guys really quickly and get a high score, right? But every once in a while, a hostage is going to pop up on screen or an innocent bystander, right? And you've got to be paying attention so that you don't shoot that person, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the game of life is very similar. You've got to recognize the bad guys and fire, and you've got to recognize who are the innocent bystanders and the good people and not fire. But at some point, it's not up to us to go through a person's life history every single moment, blow by blow, so we can analyze the balance of how good or bad they are. We're going to have to make snap judgments. And I think it's also a real problem then when people like Lupin and people like this potentially gaslight that entire process by making streams and content about their self-reflection, in which I'm going to guess here they probably really don't do any self-reflection, right? So the danger is, don't make a stream, am I a good person, if you're not really willing to have a conversation about, are you a good person? And if you're going to really have a conversation about, are you a good person, no has to very much be on the table. Because it's a real issue if a person can say, well, I want to do personal growth, right? Nitty made a stream about personal growth the other day, but Nitty laid out very much, y'all got to give me feedback. Y'all got to point out my growth needs. Y'all got to point out where I'm falling short. If I want to say, y'all, I want to do personal growth this year, I want to be serious about maturing and be the best Nitty I can be, I need help from the people in my life to point out where I need to do better.
Yeah.
That's okay to me. Okay, because because you're putting a target on your back, you're putting it out there, right? Mm-hmm. You're putting your personal character on the table, right? You're not doing a stream about the Bible or whatever. You're making you the topic of conversation. And okay, fine. If you want to say, I want to talk about my personal growth, am I a good person? How can I be a better person? But now we're going to genuinely engage in that process. Okay, you're good to go. But there's a real problem if we're going to let people pop up talking about, I want to grow, I want to be moral, I want to be the best me, new year, new me, all of this. But now when they're getting real feedback on their real character, they're not accepting of that character. And it comes to something I almost talked about the other day. There's a really important thing in motivation. Now people talk about like delayed gratification is a really important part of developing maturity, because that's how you got to be to get the big things in life. Mm-hmm. There's another phenomenon, and I don't know what the technical words of putting it, but it's almost, I think of it as premature celebration. And what happens is, it's like if a person goes and they say to you, talking to an undergrad, they're real talented, real smart, and you're talking to them and they say to you, you ask them about their future, and they're basically saying to you, oh, I want to go to law school one day, or I want to go to med school, right? Subconsciously, a lot of times, we start treating them as though they're already a lawyer, as though they're already a legal scholar. We'll start saying things to them, well, the young legal minds such as yourself, or, as, you're going to be a lawyer, so you won't have to worry about this or that financial problem, or, people like yourself are going to, right? We say all these things to them, and they really do get that dopamine hit, right, of being treated like a young legal scholar, and they're already kind of successful just by naming and proclaiming their desire to go to law school. You see what I'm saying? And they're getting the dopamine. They ain't taken the LSAT. They ain't picked up a law school book. They ain't read 1L. They ain't done nothing to actually merit feedback, like they've done something that gives them some sort of legal credibility. But just by saying it's what they want to do and us wanting to encourage them, we're giving them all that positive feedback already. Right? Same thing if somebody tells you they're going to med school. So this happens with anything in life, right? It tells a person comes to you, say, oh, I want to get sober. Oh my goodness. And we want to throw a sobriety party for them. They ain't spent the day sober yet. Right? You see what I'm saying? And it's the danger because, one, it undercuts people's motivation to actually do the thing because they're already getting the hit, right? They're getting the hit without doing the work, and it makes them less likely to do the actual work. Also, it leads to bad processes, like they're not going to be transparent and honest about their real struggles, getting real feedback, because now they become dependent on that hit. So they're going to keep that narrative up, right? Because the narrative of them getting sober, the narrative of them starting a business one day, the narrative of them painting and all of this becomes so important to them that they're now going to do a lot to keep up that image. And it's something I've come across in the literature basically on motivation, right? So when I was in grad school, I learned about this, and I became very careful not to let people call me doctor before I finished, or not to let people make, statements to me that just assumed and presumed I was going to graduate. I was like, no, I haven't graduated yet, right? And I need to have a healthy degree of insecurity about that until I actually finish, right? And so anyway, I wanted to touch on that because that's the real danger here, is that a person says, oh, I want to do a stream about am I a good person? And we're going, oh, you're such a great person. Just for, oh my goodness, only a brave, amazing person would do a stream asking if they're a good person. You're such a wonderful person, right? I see this all the time with conversations. We give people credit for having these wonderful, open-minded, intelligent conversations when everything they said out their mouth was stupid and disregarded everything the other person said. Mm-hmm. And then we give them a cookie at the end of the conversation just for showing up. Like we're all been so blessed by their presence when really their participation has been dog shit. It's been unpassing.
We have to make sure we don't do the same thing of what you just described. We have to make sure we don't do the same thing.
Absolutely. 100%. So yeah, that's my setup. I know my one black friend probably didn't know where a lot of this content was going to be coming from today, so I wanted to kind of catch them up to speed, and also same thing for our audience because I don't want them to feel like they've got to comb back through a week's worth of content in the community to figure out what the heck's going on. But those are the characters. That's the stage we set. I have to grab my heater real quick, but I'm going to hit play. We'll roll through some of this, and I'll be reacting to you guys with real time. I haven't seen any of this, so we'll just take it as it goes. And my one black friend, let me know if you want to pause or feedback or whatever you want to do.
Thank you.
But if you give me your mind in a moment of your time, I sure.
Oh, we got bad music? Oh no, I didn't know we were gonna get really awful music. Oh my goodness.
It's a bold move. Those listening to the song will make the note, we're not all Dusty Smith, It's a good job of doing your own material. Sometimes you
this is
pass it on to more capable.
Yeah.
artists.
Oh man. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. I was not expecting. At least it's not Chris. It was close. That was like some Chris level stuff. So yeah, all right. He's got the Brett Keane up here. It's kind of what I expected so far. I think he was on mute at first. I think he apologized about this in the comments. So I'm assuming he'll get his. He'll start coming through here in a sec.
Well, as I have said on Hot Program,
go to his shows out.
Silence communicates. Your silence communicates a lot.
Yeah, right. All right. I think. All right. Still not hearing him. There
Hello and welcome everybody to the Wolf Den. We got a very special episode for y'all tonight. Every night's a special episode, but we have a episode which I didn't really want to make this video, but I had a feeling it was probably going to happen eventually. And we are going to have a little chat about Brett Keane and the fallout between him and Kent Hovind have had, apparently. It's not all going to be about that, but as we talk about it, I'm just going to try and be as fair as possible. Just give you guys kind of my opinion on things, and just what I kind of what I don't want to say I expected it to happen, but we'll just talk about what. Actually, I haven't even seen the video yet, and it's 49 minutes
He had a
for
premonition.
an explanation. So we're gonna go ahead and probably play that at 2x speed, because usually Brett Keane kind of talks a little bit slow. But we're not going to make it all about Brett Keane.
Let's look at Brett Keane here. I want to encourage everyone not to make a mistake that I have made and Brett Keane is making. Do not wear a shirt the same color as the chair you're sitting in, because it will make you look bigger than you are.
Yeah, but Brett Keane's also he brags about being 250 pounds of sex machine or whatever. But yeah, no, it's a really good observation. But yeah, Brett Keane is very much biker Kent Hovind. He kind of admits this to himself. So his vibe, he likes the biker vibe, and he's very much pro wrestling. He's got like a bad pro wrestling type of thing. Yeah.
And we're not gonna attack Brett Keane or anything like that. If anything, I'll try and give him, some constructive criticism for a small YouTuber. At least whenever I go to his shows, I'll kind of give my thoughts and opinions on his show. With that being said, the title is also called "Am I a Good Person?" So, how do we determine what is good? So let's look up the definition of good, because actually I believe
all right, Lupin does this a lot, so
can also be.
It's kind of interesting. It's good that he's doing this here because he's
synonymous
very much
with perfect. Okay, but we got here.
I can't even read that. He always
that
does this
is
stuff on the
that
screen
which is morally right or righteous to be.
I'm gonna pull it up.
You could, I was gonna say, just go ahead and use Google like he's doing. It's not a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen, to define your terms or share with your audience how you're using a word, because we have different cultural backgrounds and I'd say subcultures in the audience. So this sort of things can bring people into alignment, so we know we're all on the same page.
Right. So So we can go with the adjective definitions, right? To be desired or approved of, good, like a good quality of life. Or number two, having the qualities required for a particular role. So that's not it. The schools are good. No, that's not. We're not talking about the second. We're talking about the first one. To be desired or approved of. So are you good? That's an adjective. And then the noun, that which is morally right or righteousness. Could be going there. That's fine. But that would be a mysterious balance of good and evil, right? So we're not really using that, although I'm sure he wants to go there. And then two, benefit or advantage to someone or something. He convinces his father to use his genius for the good of mankind. Really, we should be talking about this first one, to be desired or approved of, as an adjective, because you're trying to say, is a person good? We're not saying Lupin is that which is morally right or righteousness. That's kind of weird, but again, we may go towards morally right or righteousness. That's where we'll get that from. But we really should be talking about, is his character that which is to be desired or approved of. So let's see what he goes, because I'm sure we won't be able to read it.
Be desired or approved of, and benefit or advantage to someone or something. Okay. So, am I a good person? Well, we have to figure out a standard on what is a good person. You know, there's many standards, but I don't know if you guys have figured this out yet, but apparently, you know, surprise, I'm a Christian. So, with me being by a Christian, I would say the way to go by figuring out if you're good or not, a good measurement is probably to go through the 10 Commandments. And
nope,
let's just see if I'm good.
Can you pause it? As an atheist, I'm an even better Christian because I know there's 613 commandments.
Yeah, and also this is sort of a hand-waving circular reasoning. He intends to argue that the Christian worldview is the good one. Instead, he's just going to say, well, I'm a Christian, so Christianity's good. So if I'm a good Christian, then I'm good. You haven't demonstrated to us that being a good Christian, even if I were going to grant you your alignment with the 10 Commandments or whatever, you still have not demonstrated to me that is, and that is a fundamental problem with Lupin, because again, a lot of his stuff that makes him a bad person, he's getting right from that same book, right? Yeah.
There's some tough stuff in there, that's for sure.
I do have to use Google for some things, and I'm going to use it for this. Also, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit different of a... how do you say, format. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to talk about these 10 commandments, whether I'm good or not, and do a little bit of talking on that. Then we're going to go ahead and watch this Brett Keane video. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and get into the comments. I don't want to get into the comments too much during the video because last video, it was kind of distracting almost. So, and I don't have any moderator or somebody to like save comments and stuff like that. So whatever, I'm learning as I'm going. So am I a good person based on the 10 Commandments? Let's see. So you shall have no other gods before me. Okay, good on that one. You shall not make idols. Good on that one. You should not take the Lord's name in vain. Gotta say, yeah, I definitely have done that.
Also,
remember,
he's just, I don't know, like, there's no nuance here. I think when he says you don't make idols, I think he's going, I haven't made any golden calves recently.
Well, this is a really watered down interpretation of the 10 Commandments.
Absolutely.
You shall not make any graven images. It's not just idols. You're not supposed to draw a picture of something. You're not supposed to make carvings of things. that are in heaven or on earth. Now, we'll forget the fact that when it came to making Solomon's temple, it just goes on and on and on about all the graven images that are supposed to go in there. Forget that. But I think this is very watered down.
I also think you, me, and most Christians, again, especially if we were just asking Christians and they were sitting alone themselves in the room, and we said, does that second commandment prohibit you from idolizing, especially idolizing other human beings? Most Christians would say 100%. They say absolutely.
I gotta jump in on this.
Go ahead.
I watched the Shroud of Turin video. I forget which atheist outfit put it out. They did a series actually. I put in the comments section, if God forbids his people from making graven images, why would he, when Jesus is leaving earth or whatever, why would he make an image on the shroud?
Yep.
It seems like, to put it in Jesse Jackson terms, that's a no-no.
Yeah, and that's the argument. The argument is that he did it just to leave the image.
But he says don't do that.
Right.
He came here to lead by example, so I'm told.
Yeah, well, the shroud thing is just nonsense. But yeah, do you agree with that point though? Like about idolizing that he's kind of overlooking, like, because to me, where I'm going with this, if he wants to, again, if you want to have a genuine conversation about are you a good person and you want to genuinely use the 10 Commandments, I think God would have a problem with you making an idol out of other humans. And in particular with his case, I think his allegiances to at one point, probably the Proud Boys, but certainly even today, right now, Donald Trump and Kent Hovind would both be on a level that I think would be a problem.
Well, they would say they have tremendous respect for these people, not that they will pray to them or I guess they pledge their fealty to Kent Hovind or to Donald Trump. But not that they're gods, not that they are to be worshipped. Like a person would make an idol in biblical times and then pray to that idol that they made with their own hands.
Yeah.
The Bible covers that. So I think that's more in keeping with what the Old Testament in its commandments intends. Certainly a person can do this. Now we see in the Bible itself, it's in Revelation and at least one other place where someone says to another person when they will worship them, don't do that. I too am a servant. So it's a sign of humility saying, look, you need to save your reverence for the Most High God,
sure,
and not me. I'm just one of the foot soldiers.
I just think also it goes into idolatry, right? Because that's something I think they'll all talk about as a sin, which won't necessarily rely on just this one commandment. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's really interesting. But this whole thing is weird. Like this is I didn't think he was going to do this. But this is a very interesting approach he's taking. I'm going to go through the 10 Commandments and see where I'm at.
Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Probably not.
All right.
I don't know. I don't exactly. That's an interesting one that I would kind of have to read up.
Okay. Under Old Testament law, if a person works on the Sabbath, which is Saturday, they're to be killed.
Right.
Just want to be clear.
Right.
So I think we can have an Ezekiel moment where God says, I gave them statutes that were not good, laws they should not follow to horrify them. I gotta say, that's probably one of them.
Absolutely. And yeah, this is weird.
But for the sake of posterity and me not, I'm gonna say no. Honor your mother and father. While yes,
Nope.
There have been times where I've gone behind their back and
You're an embarrassment to
maybe
them.
done
Sorry.
things that I shouldn't have or anything like that. But you know what? I'm gonna say yes because I
Nope.
do love my parents and
Nope.
they've been
You're an absolute
very
embarrassment to your parents.
instrumental in my life, and I appreciate them and I love them to death, and I try and do my utmost best to respect them. So we're gonna say yes on that. So far we're down
Yes,
to 2
sometimes.
out of 5. Thou shalt not murder. You shall not murder. Um. Yeah, nope, haven't broken that one yet.
He really had to think
Should not
long and hard
commit
about that one,
adultery.
apparently.
Little worrying.
Guilty of
Yeah.
that. Should not steal. Guilty of that. So you should not bear false witness against your neighbor. That's interesting. Maybe I should have read which one these are. But I mean, the 10 Commandments, if you're not familiar with them, these are accurate enough. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor.
You do it all the time.
Technically, that one's for Hebrews
Okay.
only.
I don't know if they added your neighbor or if that's actually in the Old Testament. And let me go
That's
ahead
in the
and
Old
get rid of
Testament,
this
buddy.
because it's not actually active. Hold on, it's kind of bothering me. No. We could leave that camera on. That's not going to affect me either. Actually, that might help me whenever I look over here to check chat or something like that. Okay, so bear false witness against your neighbor. Okay, so if we're just going to talk and say that you should not lie, okay, I'm guilty of that one. Let's go ahead and just say I'm guilty of that one. And you shall not covet.
Absolutely guilty of that one. Come on, bro. Like, this is just.
So pretty much what we've learned here is what he's good for fortuity.
I probably
and the
have,
rest
but not
is just,
to an extreme extent. But
Exactly.
I don't think I could give you an example off the top of my head that I've coveted something. I probably have, though.
Hasn't worshipped any other gods and
So,
hasn't murdered.
What do we have here? So I'm a liar. I've stolen stuff. I'm a lying thief who has committed adultery and used God's name in vain and don't really keep the Sabbath day. So if we went by the 10 Commandments and if I'm a good person, the answer, it would obviously be no, absolutely not. And I should get the punishment that that is righteous. So the reason why
Now, obviously, Uncle Bobby and I just did a stream about, battered believer syndrome. But this is exactly what we were talking about. This justification that your oppression is your fault, that you find your sense of self-worth in your oppressor, that they're omnipresent, right? Because, God can convict him of his thought crimes, his coveting, and all of this other stuff. So to me, and the irrational belief that if they don't harm you, they'll hurt your loved ones. So it's just interesting to me that this whole thing is a miss, and this is what I mean about Lupin. I really do think something's really wrong with Lupin, right? And I know he's kind of young, but he's too old for this. He's too old for this. He's too old to be this bad. He's old enough now to take responsibility for his behavior. And you got to remember, I think we're watching him become more and more radicalized. I think he's considering, for instance, moving to Dinosaur Adventureland to permanently become part of the Hovind camp. I think he's aspiring to be, a player in this. Even the shift in his content, it's gone from, hey, we'll do some gaming, talk a little trash about the left, to now he's sort of set the gaming aside, and now he's full on, taking on these podcasts and debates and atheist takedowns and all of this stuff. So there's something very aspirational going on here. But again, this to me, he's just got his whole thing wound up because he's starting from a problematic place. This is not good.
I wanted just to go.
Could you
Yeah,
pause
yeah,
again,
you're good.
please? So, based on what he's telling us, he just said a moment ago that he should get the punishment he deserves. I believe he said spiritually deserves. So, if that is the case, when he is to talk about other people who also have shortcomings, because which of us don't?
Sure.
I think his compassion should be through the moon, just crazy compassionate about what other people are going through, even if they're having a tough time or an easy one. He should be delicate when he deals with other people's opinions. He should not insult them. He should not whitewash things, or he should not use obfuscation, but speak to things, speak to events and the behaviors of himself and others honestly, from, I'd say, through the lens of forgiveness, through the lens of, okay, let's get this person reformed to do things in a way that is most beneficial and honors God. So it'll be interesting to see how his comments flow from here out. That's the perspective he should have. Is he going to give us that? It will be interesting. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, because, if Prager, you can't do it, I don't know that this guy can.
No, yeah, yeah. I don't think he can. And I also think I have a very low opinion of Lupin at this point, and I think he might be too far gone. I really do.
Over this is because in my last stream, I was being accused of hate speech. It was kind of funny because
that was
the
me and
people that
Lena.
were accusing me of hate speech and stuff like that, whenever I was just talking about the gospel and we were going
He was
about
talking
what
about
the Bible says
what the
about
Bible says about
homosexuality,
there
they
you
wanted
go.
to accuse me of hate speech. Yet if you go through the chat on that, they said some of the most hateful things that you could say. They wanted me, they wish I wasn't on the planet, that I'm a fascist.
You are a fascist, and Lena and others made it very clear that they don't want to live on a planet with dangerous people like this. It was very clear. And again, this is not what a good person does. A good person does not go on their stream and misrepresent people who called them out for hate speech because they were practicing hate speech. And he's so, and this is what the Christians do. You made an entire stream to hate people. That's what the purpose of his stream was. It was to argue that the Bible hates fags, and so do I. And here's the justification for it. And he tried to wrap it up as telling us this Christian love. He finally got the feedback, bro, you're dangerous. And matter of fact, he's tried to be correct on it. And so eventually, Lena and I agree, made it very clear. We don't want people like you around. It's very obvious.
You know what? I'm going to challenge something you said. I don't think the Bible states anywhere, you'd have to show me, where it hates gays. It disapproves of the behavior to the point that it says, you should kill gay people, like if a man lies with man as he does with a woman. Okay, so it says that, and later in the New Testament, it talks about giving them over to their unnatural behaviors. Okay, it says those two things. But it also says that they were going to kill a guy for picking up sticks on the Sabbath.
Yeah,
So
I don't know what you're asking.
Well, I'm just saying, we can clearly see that the book has its failings, and then you have people who are probably doing their best to be sincere, but they have that cognitive dissonance, right? They know, I'd say many accept that it's a bad idea to kill people because of who they love, right? These Christians in Hebrew, whatever the faith is, nobody wants to be killed for loving their God. So why should you be killed for loving your husband or your wife, your boyfriend or your girlfriend? How does it possibly warrant that? Loving someone is one of the best things we're ever going to do in our lives, any of us. And so to be destructive of that ought to be offensive to everyone, regardless of their position on whatever religion they have. And I think, again, I don't know what all of his opinions are. I'm about to see that, I think, as we go along here. But I think there's a responsibility to any of his critics to be even-handed. Again, we've said it on a hot program before, and other atheists.
All right, I'm going to be clear about
too.
this.
We have to know their book better than they do.
I don't think we have to know the book better than they do. I don't think the book's worth reading, and I don't think you should ask people because again, then I gotta know Islam better than the Muslim. I gotta know the Torah better than I don't have time. We just have a different opinion on this. My opinion is they need to prove it. When they prove it, then they get to tell me what to do with my time and demand that I know their book. But also, the Bible, let me be very clear about this. I want to be as even-handed as possible. The Bible fucking hates queers. It just does. I'm not going to sit here and play this word game where because it doesn't say it does say it. It does say it. It's very clear. Like first off, we have to be clear about who produced the book. No matter how we think of it, the book was produced by ancient Near Eastern people. But no matter what society we think produced it, they were homophobic. But they were homophobic, right? And so, but my point is, those passages are in the Bible because they were written by homophobes. So,
well, look, you have the story of David and Jonathan. You know, they kissed each other while naked in the field. Well, David had no clothes on. I don't know that Jonathan didn't. He loved him more than he loved his own soul. Now, that expression is used more than one time in the Bible, that someone loves someone else more than their own soul.
Again, an account of a homosexual love affair does not mean that the Bible isn't homophobic. Like but
David was a man after God's own heart.
I don't understand. I guess, look, if you want to be an apologist, cool. But like, I'm here as a counter apologist, and I'm not gonna play word games. The Bible hates queers. Now, the proof is all of the scriptures that are in there were written in a homophobic culture. So if it's no mystery as to why it says stuff like that. It says that because that was the opinion of the people who wrote it. Now, whether they're the same people who wrote the other sections or other, I don't care, because at some point we're literally doing a thought dance, and I don't like that anymore. That makes me feel like I'm stuck in the cult. No, this is what the cult did to me my whole life, was they tried to play word games with me, and it's the same person as, it's like a duck. If I don't say the N-word, then I don't hate black people. If I don't come out and say I hate black people, then you can't say that anything I say or do is me hating black people because I haven't explicitly said I hate black people. No. The Christianity is bigoted against many people, the non-believers, people of other faiths, Jews, on and on and on. But it is 100% bigoted against the queer community. It has been from the beginning. And all of the violence committed against the queer community, the majority of it is done in the name of this religion. So maybe somebody else is the person to argue with that. And this is what Lupin was called out for. Like, you're a hateful person for following this book if the book is bigoted, and that's the problem. Like, he's gonna miss this whole opportunity for growth because he literally thinks he even said this in his stream. Like, he thought he was good to go because he's offering queer people the opportunity to change. He wants to see them turn their lives around. I mean, yeah, I'll roll tape unless you have something else, my black friend.
No, go ahead.
Just that, veiled death threats. They didn't say it directly, but definitely they didn't hide it too well either. You could read between the lines on that. So what they weren't understanding though was the entire message.
Jojo, I think you're irritating and annoying. So I'm going to give you another opportunity to be more constructive in your thoughts and comments. You've been kind of irritating me all day, to be quite frank. Uh,
I think you can see a comment.
if you're not, it might be on because you're probably looking at your channel. Maybe I don't know.
No, I'm looking at the Gather.
Freelance.
Okay.
Oh yeah, not in Gather. They're not in Gather. They're on YouTube. But it's like I don't know. They're just a troll. They've been making trolly comments all day. But this point that atheists are homophobic as well. That's no. Atheist just means one thing. I don't believe in God. Therefore, there's no doctrine of atheism. So, can an atheist be homophobic? Sure. But if you're going to make comments in my chat, and let me be very clear, you're going to get the block next time you fuck with me because I'm just not playing around anymore. I want my community to be productive, and people like you blocking up our chat with nonsense is just not going to be tolerated. So don't misrepresent what I say or else I'm going to block you. I'm being very clear. Christianity has doctrinal bigotry. It has a doctrine based on the book, and the book is bigoted. Atheism doesn't have a doctrine, doesn't have a belief, so no, there's nothing about atheism in itself that is homophobic. No, complete false equivalent. Don't do it again.
Of the gospel. If we went by the 10 Commandments, the Christian 10 Commandments, we'll all fall short. Everybody's going to fall short of this. Okay? I don't care if you're gay, straight, whatever. You know, we're all going to fall short of this. And the beautiful thing is about Christianity, once you understand and grasp the fact that Jesus came down in the form of God came down in the form of Jesus to experience what it was to be a human and ultimately sacrifice his bodily form and give us freedom from the punishment of sin, which doesn't mean that sin doesn't still exist. That's a whole other conversation. There's still sin and people do sin, but the fact that he gives us the opportunity and we can choose to sin, and once you accept God into your heart and accept Jesus, even though you will eventually sin and will sin, you're ultimately forgiven. And that's a beautiful thing, because really that offers redemption to anybody, no matter how heinous the act or what they've done. It's the ultimate forgiveness, you know. And
we're not making it through this tape, gang. But my one black friend, I want to get your thoughts on this, because this is exactly what I was afraid of. This is exactly what I tried to set us up for in the lead into this. This self-reflection where what you're doing is absolutely no self-reflection at all. So he just sets it up. Am I a good person? I really want to know if I'm a good person or not. Well, let me pull up this ultimate standard of if I'm a good person or not. The 10 Commandments. Oh, well, according to these 10 Commandments, I'm still not a good person. I'm still all types of messed up, so I'm still not a good person. But you know what? I believe in Jesus. You know what Jesus does? He forgives me of all my sins. Therefore, I'm holy and blameless in his sight. Ta-da! I'm a good person. And this is the problem with religion. And this is what I mean about it being anti-humanity. Nah, dog. Being a good person is actually about, do you have good character that when other people reflect on what it means to be a good person and have good character, we put you in the good camp. And this is a person who wants the illusion of personal growth, the illusion of feedback, the illusion of development, but really they just want to pat themselves on the back by starting with the conclusion, I'm a good person because of Jesus. That's where they start and that's where they finish. Did you have anything? You stepped away. All right.
To me, there's kind of nothing more powerful than that. That's extremely powerful. So what I was thinking is that while
Oh, hey,
the reason why these people will say that it's hate speech and everything like that is because they don't fully understand the purpose of the gospel. So they don't fully understand the gospel, and in fact, a lot of them reject it, and that's an amazing thing too, because God gave us free will to accept that or to throw it away. And you know, I've talked to that specific person the other day multiple times, and I've talked to multiple people, you know, whether it's in my family or friends or people that I talk to about this, and also I've you know, thought about it myself, and I'm not exactly sure it's where it is in the Bible, but there's plenty of verses on it and plenty of sayings like you can't lead a horse, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And Ken Hovind actually had a good metaphor for this. It's like if you have a field, of land, if you have a plot of land and half of it is rock and half of it is fertile soil, which one are you going to start on first? Are you going to start on the fertile soil or the rock? Of course, you're going to want to start with the soil and then get to the rock afterwards. I've done my part as a Christian. I've told them the gospel. I've talked to them whether they want to accept it or not. Hey, Sandy, whether they want to accept it or not, that's them. But I really, you know, it's like I said, you know, if a house is on fire, you could do so many things to try and help somebody out, but at the end of the day, if they don't want to help themselves out, then the blame is no longer on that person. You know, it's their choice. You know, I could tell them, hey, the house is on fire. I could try and drag them out, but if they're gonna fight every step of the way and reject it and they choose to burn, then that's ultimately their choice. So I've tried, and I've even said in previous videos that my my testimonial, my
Check,
way
check.
of bringing the gospel to them may not be strong enough. You know, it's there for the people that want to listen, but
Sorry, I
for
was
certain
testing the
people,
Discord. So you can. All
it's
right,
a
so
lot
you
harder
should
to
be
get
able
through,
to
and
hear
a
us
lot
in
of people
Discord.
are a lot less. Some people they need a different way of accepting the message,
We're in the
and like I
streaming
said,
channel.
sometimes there's just people that will completely just throw it away, just reject the gift, and that's unfortunate. That really is unfortunate. But hey, I tried. That's as much as I could say. It would be a lot worse. It would be a lot worse if I didn't tell them than it would be for me to tell them and then feel hurt about it. Because that's whenever it gets evil. That's whenever it gets kind of twisty. Because you know it may not be what you want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. And what you do with that word
I
is
agree with
what you
you,
do
Liz
with it at the
Allen. It's
end of
not
the
a
day.
gift; it's
So
a
anyway,
poison.
I've tried with them. I've talked to them. They've threatened me. They've called me all kinds of names. I'm not scared of them. It's whatever. But I'm also not going to lose any sleep or.
And this is, guys. This is another perfect example of Christian persecution complex. I know this because I'm literally the person Lupin's talking about. Not just me, but myself, Lena. I think Wayne was in his chat that night, and he was literally just getting feedback. Like, Lupin, if you don't want to be called a fascist, here's the thing: it's pretty easy. Don't be a fascist. If you don't want people to call you a bigot and a homophobe, here's the thing: don't be a bigot and a homophobe. He literally wants to put dangerous ideas in the world, and then when people are like, yo, these ideas are dangerous, we'd really rather not have these people like this in the world, especially if you're going to tell us you won't change. And that makes him the victim. And and again, fine, because look, this is how Christians play it every day. But the audacity to come and make a stream like, am I a bad person? I really would like to know. I really would like to do some personal growth. And just completely missing all of this. I mean, that's it's really off-putting. Go ahead, my one black friend.
Well, as I consider your comments and his, maybe he's a typical person. You have to average out the behavior of that person. What are they typically? When people come on YouTube, I don't know if I'm getting their regular personality or some goofiness.
Sure.
I was considering maybe doing a channel that talked about where I spoke about movies that I liked and not movies that I didn't like, or maybe even things that I liked. But if I didn't like it, like, okay, this hard drive, I think this is a pretty good hard drive. So I could talk about what I like about it. But if I hated it, I'm not mentioning it. Just going to leave it out. Like you guys have heard me talk about Asus products, how I just wouldn't buy another one.
Right.
I'm not thrilled with their customer service
Right.
or their computers. But to me, that makes it worth not talking about unless I was asked. But I've had good experiences with myriad other things. And I think I'd probably rather talk about things that I enjoy rather than things that I don't.
Right.
So I'm here in case you are a Christian. What are you talking about Christianity? I enjoy discussions about religions, not just Christianity, but pretty much any faith. There are faiths I've never heard of that obviously I don't have an opinion about them, and I'm sure they would fascinate me. Getting back to Lupin here, I think maybe Lupin is putting this out because he's having some struggles with people criticizing him.
Yeah.
And
yes.
He's trying to work out reasons not to change. And I'll give him some credit.
Yes.
Maybe there's some ideas like, what work can I do to change? How can I refine myself? Maybe his inner monologue. How can I refine myself so that I don't have this criticism levied against me? Criticism that he may have a very hard time accepting.
Yes.
You know, and I think to some degree, each of us can be like that. Okay, I've had this harsh criticism. How do I internalize it? What do I do? The criticism may make him uncomfortable, and he may genuinely want to be a better person. Well, I think we all can respect and identify with that. Also, maybe the criticism is just going to piss him off because what do other people know about him? They don't know him. They've just seen a few of his videos, you know. So we'll see, though. This is unfolding well.
Yes. And yeah, that's that. I agree with everything you said, and I know Lupin popped up in the chat and probably won't buy this again because to him, we're the oppressors here. I'm the very, it's me and my friends that were bullying him. So he's obviously, not gonna buy what I have to say. But we have, since the day we met this poor child of God, literally, been trying to help him grow. We've been trying to point out the areas of his worldview that are misguided, that are mistaken, that are demonstrably wrong and out of place, and also very dangerous. But part of the problem of him having poor character is that he then seeks out other people with poor character because he wants to be led in that way. So what
this is how the clan was able to grow.
Exactly. So he doesn't trust. He doesn't trust the right people. Right. This is like last night I did a thing on faith healers. Right. And it was always funny, the faith healers that go down the line and they're touching the people. Right. And you've seen this, I'm sure. Right. And, and when it gets good, the people fall all the way out. Right. So the thing that I noticed last night, and I never really commented on this because I never really thought about it, but isn't it kind of like a trust fall? Right. Yes. It's very much like a trust fall. Right. But what's funny about it is, it's a trust fall with the greatest motivation for this trust fall ever. Like, let's be honest, folks. If you don't know this part of church, let me tell you. If you go to a church that does this, they do this all the time. Okay? And so you've seen this all the time. And so anytime you go up for an altar call and the pastor lays hands on you, the question of are you or aren't you going to fall out is 100% an issue. It's always that issue. Don't let anybody ever tell you they haven't thought about it. Right? Everybody thinks about it when you think about going to an altar call, because you know it's a very real possibility because you've seen this all happen. But it's funny, but it's like, this is the greatest trust fall ever because your pastor's guiding you in it, and the motivation is great. It's faith healing or a miracle of Jesus or blessings or whatever. You have the security around you, like the big security. They're right there behind you to catch you, usually multiple people.
Yeah.
And you're in front of your entire congregation, presumably the field filled with your, friends, family, loved ones, whoever, your community. So I'm kind of started laughing like, if you don't do this trust fall now, then when y'all don't really trust each other like you say you do, right? If you can't do a trust fall right now in this circumstance, like, and then I started joking like, this is the problem. This is why y'all don't have real seed faith, because if you had just a mustard seed of faith, you'd at least fall out. Now, if you can't trust fall around this crowd, who can you trust fall? But no, seriously, the thing with Lupin is that's it. He would completely do the trust fall at Dinosaur Adventureland, surrounded by Ken Hovind and Matt Powell and whoever else is down there on the compound. But if he got in a trust fall with me, you, Wayne, Lena, and James Apperson, hell no. And really that's one of the big problems that goes on in our community, is that there's a lot of people we are really trying to help that person directly, but without them trusting us and really buying into our good faith efforts, it's like we're talking to a wall. Go ahead, my one black friend.
I think I could disagree. I think Lupin would do the trust fall with us.
I think he'd probably do a trust fall with us physically, but I mean intellectually, he won't do the trust fall with us.
Intellectually, maybe.
Yeah.
He would have to prove that he has faith, that God would not put him in the company of people who would not consciously let him incur physical harm.
Oh, yeah. No, I think he would really do a trust fall with us.
And
physically.
I'd at least try to catch him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm really trying to dramatize the issue is I do think he trusts the wrong people, right? That's what we mean when we say someone's a poor judge of character, right? It's like you, because he's the person who'll tell you Donald Trump's the greatest president ever, right? It's like, bro, this is a consistent pattern of placing your faith in the wrong people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
I'm not going to be planting seeds in these rocks, if I know that they're not going to grow. And I don't know, maybe the rocks will soften up over time. Sometimes it is a thing of time. Sometimes people, there's a ton of reasons. And I'm waiting until I find an atheist that is willing to actually talk to maybe just help me go through the process of what makes them become an atheist. Because I've said this before too, every person that's been born
bring it on
has an innate, almost natural sense that there is something greater than humans. They sense their soul and their spirit, and over time either something traumatic happens to them, or now the most common thing is that people are brainwashed in school. And that really
interesting choice of terms.
People they schools go directly against teaching about God, and
looks like Lupin is brainwashed in the blood.
Seriously.
It could also be a peer pressure things. There's many reasons, but I've never met anyone born as an atheist. So there's usually a process. So if there's a way to become an atheist, then you could really. They say that Christians have learned this lifestyle, but it's so hypocritical, because actually Christians may learn about the Christian lifestyle, but even then humans, I believe, naturally have a connection with the spirit, with a higher power. They may not understand it as biblical as God, Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit. They may not understand it like that, but they have some
Just
kind of connection. And like I said, it gets lost
belief.
over time for various numbers of reasons. So
No evidence of
maybe
any of this.
eventually,
And obviously, people are not born with a God belief. This is just very patently, obviously not true. Just obviously not true.
we'll find an atheist that's willing to talk. And kind of about this show, I haven't really given a kind of genre or title of this show because I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not sure if it's exactly a Christian show, but I do try and keep it fairly clean. You know, I don't think since I've started the
Feels
series
over
I have
reals.
slipped up yet. That's why I'm not giving you guys my Twitch channel, because if you see me playing some video games or something like that, then yeah, it's not the most Christian friendly. But as far as YouTube goes and everything, I try and keep it clean. And I'm the biggest concern of mine is to come off as a hypocrite, because you can come off as a hypocrite real easy whenever you are talking about God and whenever you're talking about sin and everything. It's very easy for these tables to be flipped around and say, "Who are you to tell me, you know, this and that and the other? Who are you to tell me what's wrong? You can't even keep the 10 Commandments." And see, the thing is, I accept that as true. Like, it's like, yeah, I can't, but I also understand that the gospel is there to help me get through this. And I try and stay under grace and I try and keep it good. But at the end of the day, I know I'm always going to fall short, but I try and do the best that I can. So yeah, I haven't really...
This is really twisted here. He's bothered by the fact that he's been challenged in his beliefs, in his, spreading the gospel of that people find very hateful. And rather than recognize the fundamental challenge to his worldview and his faith, including his doctrine, none of us ever said that Lupin was wrong about what the Bible says about queer people. We said what the Bible says about queer people is fucked up, and you're fucked up for following it. And rather than do that, it's like his bigger concern is that people might call him a hypocrite because of the way that he fails to follow the 10 Commandments. Like, it's just, you put the cart before the horse, and it's all downhill from there. Like, there's no redeeming it, because it's all going back to this monstrous worldview, and he refuses to challenge it. And at some point, I think he refuses to challenge it because he's a bad person. He wants to hold on to this narrative because this narrative gives him permission to be a bad guy, to play the heel, well, it's not my fault. God said it's an abomination for man to lie with man. So when I tell gay people they're icky, it's good to go. If he genuinely had a heart to grow, if he genuinely had a desire to learn, if he genuinely had a sympathetic, compassionate, loving, caring type of disposition, especially given how directly he's been challenged on these things, he'd be singing an entirely different tune. His continued doubling down on this path demonstrates that this is the path he wants to take. I got you up on the big screen, my one black friend. What do you think?
Well, I just went to his channel and I replied on this video that we're talking about here, that I would be happy if he wants to talk to an atheist. I'd be happy to oblige. So we'll see if that ever comes to fruition.
Yeah,
we can talk about that.
He's been in chat, so I don't know. He's called in before. It tends to get a little off the rails. So
well, it's his show. He can determine the focus when he's
we'll try to set up a follow-up. We'll try to set up a follow-up episode or something. But let's keep going. I appreciate you. He said he's got you, so I guess maybe he'll get back to you.
Given this I'm still working on the channel and still trying to figure out the whole plot of it, as you would say. But with time, we'll get there. So with that being said, talking about shows, we're going to go ahead and talk about, one moment. We're going to talk about this Brett Keane issue that just happened recently. Yeah, I haven't seen the video yet, but I can say I almost saw it coming. So before I start the video, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to take a quick, like, 15 to 30-second pause. I need to go and get my dog in that I'm sitting today. So I'm going to be back in about 15 to 30 seconds. Bear with me.
So one thing I just want to quickly touch on is that one of the fundamental disagreements we have with people like Lupin is that I think he fails to accept that ultimately this comes down to human judgment. It is what we determine to be approved of or desirable. And even if we're going to say, oh, you got to go with the 10 Commandments, you got to go with God, you've got to determine that going with God or going with the 10 Commandments is itself the best way to go. And I think he's got a lot of thinking to do about the fact that people are rejecting his value judgments. And, you know, like...
Start there. What does that say?
Start there. What does that say? Yeah.
What does that say about someone? Look, you're rejecting my... This is God's problem in the Bible, right?
Right.
He set up all these rules, and yet people don't want to follow them. Well, set up better rules.
Right.
Right. Set up better rules. If I don't believe that Jesus is the Son of God, I go to hell. What? Is that worth eternal punishment? Are you really that upset? Even little, I watch Instagram like most of you when I'm on the toilet, and there'll be some video of some parent and their child acting out. Well, within the same, 14-second video, you often see the kid get over it. This is a person new to this world, 2, maybe 5 years old at best. And they figured out in a moment, it's not worth staying upset over. Whatever just occurred. Their brother or sister hit them. Their parent took away their cookie, or the dog ate their food or something like that. It's not worth staying upset over. But sort of this eternal, all-powerful, all-knowing, all-loving God can't be any of those things that he advertises himself as.
Yeah.
Right. You just can't do it.
Yeah.
Well, no, I almost want to say no wonder Christians have problems. They have to reconcile their own inability to what? Strictly adhere to the law, with the fact that their God can't do it either. I think we could go through all 613 commandments in the Bible and show you that the God of the Bible broke pretty much every one.
Right. He's always stealing and coveting and murdering and
even adultery, right? Israel's supposed to be his bride. Well, what happens later? The Christian church becomes his bride. Now, wait a second. Is it like Abraham, you're going to have more than one wife? Or is it something else? What's going on here? Did you divorce Israel?
Right.
So you can pick someone up? Well, Jesus has some comments about divorce. You shouldn't do it. It's wrong. But it is permitted by the laws of Moses.
Yeah.
But you make your wife, your old wife, an adulteress by doing that. Well, Aren't you complicit with her committing adultery if that is the case? If that is truly the case, it's your fault because she shouldn't go the rest of her life unloved by someone, not being in a relationship. She should find someone who's going to treat her absolutely wonderfully and who she can treat well and enjoy immense happiness. That's what should happen.
Lupin, you can just call in next week if you want. We can do a follow-up and you guys can talk. He said you should hit him up on Discord, but I don't think he used Discord.
I don't do any of that stuff. The social media stuff.
Yeah, so he can just
I'm gently associated.
He can just call in next week and we'll go to the other room.
I am back. What is going on with the brightness? Why does it seem so dark? Oh, it's because I'm looking at because the picture is dark. Okay. So apparently Brett Keane and Kent Hovind have gotten into some type of arguments or something like that, and I don't want to be. If you haven't seen my interview with Kent Hovind,
he does sound slow. Even
you can look at that. I really don't want to make my channel revolve around Kent and his ministry. You know, like that. I appreciate him letting me interview him because he does have a very large viewer base and everything like that. So I do appreciate him letting me on. But you know, if anything, he was doing that for me. He is exposing his viewer base. Can I beep out the bad language? Is it that bad? I haven't seen it. If you saw my other video, you know I really don't care too much about the cuss words, but I know some people might be sensitive to it. If we played at 2 times speed, are we... maybe I should have watched the video before.
Beep out the bad words?
Maybe I should have watched the video before I did this.
Why is Brett Keane?
You know what? We're gonna go ahead and go with it, and I'll skip around. Okay, every cuss word, we're gonna go ahead and skip forward. Okay, you know, I know you say that you're kidding and everything like that. Okay, so just a warning, just a warning. Okay. If you have kids or children in the room and you're listening to this loudly, probably explicit language, we're gonna ride through this together, okay? Because I haven't seen this.
All right, now we got to slow down because Brett Keane talks
pretty slow too. Okay, so Brett Keane, he talks pretty slow. We're gonna play it back at like 1.5 speed. Actually, let me go ahead and just give my criticism. Let me put my criticism out there on Brett Keane. And like I said, I saw this coming. I hate to say that I saw this coming, but I kind of did, and hopefully they could figure it out. And I'm not going to bash on Brett Keane either. He's going to do what he's going to do. But if you're going to have a channel, and that's why I kind of talked about what I just said about me not knowing exactly what my channel is. If he's going to have a channel called God TV Radio and go out as a Christian and do that, you kind of want to carry yourself with a certain canter, a certain way. As a Christian, you know, if you're trying to attract Christians, you should carry yourself a different way. He does cuss in his videos, you know, and he's a former atheist. He probably cussed a whole bunch before that, and he's probably, I think he even said that he was trying to tone it down. So I can respect that. But you know, you carry yourself. If you go into these videos and you do cussing and everything like that, you know, you want to kind of tone it down, especially if you're trying to promote like a Christian type thing, because if you are Christian, it's very jarring to go into a channel like that, and then all you hear is F-bombs every other
so
sentence.
Concerned about 4-letter words, but not
that's one thing that
curses.
I mean, cussing really doesn't bother me, but I think whenever you're representing a Christian channel, you know, you should be watching your language and everything. Another thing is with Brett, it really seems like he feels that Kent Hovind owes him something. It's like, I had you on the show. I was hosting, Kent, and I didn't get 10,000 followers overnight. Or your followers don't watch me. Your followers don't do this, that, and the other thing. You know, like, and you're not supporting me. It's like Kent has such a large audience. First off, before YouTube was even a thing, Kent's been out there doing his seminars. He's been all around the world speaking and everything. And really, Kent doesn't owe you anything. You should be grateful that, you know, he even goes on your channel. You should be thankful for that small exposure. Whenever I did the interview, I think I got maybe like a whopping 30 new subscribers whenever I did the Kent Hovind video. I'm not gonna lie, hoping it was more, but hey, I'm grateful for every one of you guys that did. You know, we did it in a kind of weird way. It wasn't live. It was a weird interview and I was nervous. But you know, we got like 30 something followers and from it, and I'm happy about that. Kent doesn't call me almost Kent doesn't call me ever, and I've been down to Dinosaur Adventureland. I've helped out over there. Kent doesn't call me. I don't expect him to. I really don't expect him to do things for me. I don't expect him to. I don't feel like I kind of lost my train of thought, but really, Kent doesn't owe me anything. He did what he did for me. He helped me out and everything like that, and I appreciate it. And I'm not saying that he does owe me that, but I think by Brett Keane having Kent Hovind on his show, Brett Keane is kind of trying to use his show as a I'm not gonna say blackmail because that's a strong word, but like he's using his show, which has 300 subscribers as of now.
No, it did kind of have that feel to it.
He's trying to make Kent Hovind seem like, hey, you wouldn't be where you were at without my help, you know, and you're not calling me, you're not doing this for me, I'm not getting paid, da da da. It's like, well, Kent doesn't owe you any of that. You don't have to have Kent on your show, and I don't want to speak for anybody because I don't know, but if I would have to say motives going into having Kent Hovind on your show would be for self-enrichment. I'm pretty sure he was expecting, man, I'm going to have Kent Hovind on my show. Awesome. He's got over 200,000 subscribers. That's crazy. I'm going to be exposed to all these people. All these people are going to come to my YouTube channel and watch what I have to say and everything like that. And when that happens, or when that doesn't happen, you become more bitter toward Kent Hovind because you feel like he owes you something. He doesn't owe you anything. Yeah. So there's my opinion on Brett on Keene's kind of motive, and I say it's my opinion, and I'm not going to say like, oh, I wasn't expecting anything from Kent Hovind's channel. I wasn't, I was hoping a lot of people would subscribe to my channel. It helped out a bit. I got a few extra subscribers, and like I said, I'm grateful for everybody. But it's not like I became a millionaire overnight. And I think a lot of what's happened is kind of money motivated. I think you want to make a YouTube channel, you want to make money off the YouTube channel, and when that doesn't happen the way you expect, or how you expected, or how quickly you expected it to happen, you become bitter and angry, and you start thinking that people owe you something that they don't. So that's kind of just my synopsis. That's the way I looked at it.
Yeah, good.
Come on, hot program audience, promote the channel. I want to buy an old BMW. the buy-in is 10 grand, and let's be honest, it's gonna need 10 grand worth of work.
Yeah, right.
Get us to 1 billion subscribers.
Y'all should be out there shilling the channel all over YouTube.
And I could be totally wrong. Maybe he doesn't want any money and he wants to do this for free. I hope that one day eventually maybe my channel will earn me some money, but right now it doesn't. So that's why I only do about hour shows, is because I can't put all my time into something that's not giving me.
Go ahead, like the video, gang.
Another thing I wanted to say about Brett Keane, we're going to just go back to actual my criticism about him, is he treats his chat and guests kind of like trashy. Like, I would understand if you had a couple thousand followers or subscribers, or maybe even a few hundred, where it's just blowing up the chat left and right and you can't pay attention to it all. But whenever you only have like 1 or 2 viewers, like I went into his room, I wanted to hear what he had to say, and I was like, hey, where's the link to join the call? No response, at all. And then I type again, like, hey, can I join the call? No response. And I'm like, okay, ... And then I asked Stephen Bowling, who he was hosting with, a question. And then, so then whenever he finally does acknowledge me, he says, well, there's somebody down here who just is looking for attention, who's got all his feelings hurt and everything. It's like, no, dude, I was asking you for some information about the show for like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes ago. You didn't respond. And then whenever you do respond, you're going to respond like that. Like, you only have 1 viewer, and that's probably your phone. You're watching on your phone. So whenever he said that, that's whenever I just I unsubscribed to him. I'm not saying that anybody should unsubscribe to him. I don't care who you're subscribed to, but that was just my experience with him. I was like, I can understand. Like I said, I can understand if you have a couple thousand people or even a couple hundred people, but having just like one person watching your show, maybe you shouldn't treat the couple people that watch your show like garbage. So I think maybe the last and most important critique.
Now, that's an interesting point there. You shouldn't treat the few people that watch your show like garbage. Yeah, Lupin, like the few people that are watching your show telling you this is hate speech and you should stop talking like this and language like this isn't safe to use. You literally will have 4 people watching your stream. 3 of them are in the chat telling you everything you say is a problem. Like, yeah. Don't treat the people that your few viewers like garbage. Oh man.
So are you saying that the truth, like the right thing to do, is written on his heart?
Yeah. Apparently, because he comes out when he's watching Brett Keane.
Sure.
If you saw my other video, you know I really don't care too much about the cuss words, but I know some people might be sensitive to it. If we played at 2x speed,
I think I
kind of tone it down, especially if you're trying to promote like a Christian.
I think I went back too much.
I can barely sit through a 50. I got YouTube and I got like TikTok. I don't watch TikTok, but man, dude, I got like a TikTok attention span, dude. A squirrel could probably beat me at a game of chess just by waiting.
Wow.
But man, dude, his shows are boring, and it's a shame because they got some interesting topics to talk about, but they present it in such a boring fashion. It's just like, man, I can't listen to what this dude has to say for like 4 hours. You know, I only came in to see what they had to say with Kent Hovind and stuff like that. Anyway, so yeah, it's just boring. And I see other shows like that, dude. Like people do like 8-hour shows with like 1 or 2 viewers, and they're just talking about the most boring things. I don't understand it. I don't get it. Are you getting paid to do this? What am I doing wrong here? What am I doing wrong? But anyway, so yeah. With that being said, let's go ahead and like I said, we're gonna watch like.
Lupin, if we should finally have a conversation, maybe we can talk about what you're doing wrong too.
Yeah.
I would hope we can include that in there. And I don't think changing is going to grow your audience when I make suggestions to you. I don't think that. Typically what we see, the biggest audience are from people misbehaving a lot of the times. It's the biggest audiences, not from people conducting themselves in an honorable manner. So seeing that you have Christian beliefs, I'm going to go ahead and say you are a Christian. That's how you identify yourself.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
You're going to have a really hard time, perhaps, without being deceptive.
Yeah, 100%. But again, I think that's what he's into, and I think that's part of the fear. Because if he took that on, if he took us on, if he took you on, he would have to switch up. There's no, because he's headed down the wrong path, and I think he's afraid that he would lose that. Right? He would be throwing out all that time he just spent at Dinosaur Adventureland. Right? He's up here now apologizing and defending Kent Hovind, and so if he were to really grow and change in that way, it's like, what we know a lot of Christians are afraid of. They're afraid of losing touch with the prospects and the community that they've built up, and their sense of having a purpose in all of this now. Yeah, it's tough. All right,
higher speed.
Thanks.
And I think what I wanted to say for this episode, I've gotten it across. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to play this video. Every time he cusses, we're going to skip forward a little bit until we get to the end of the video. If it's as bad as some people say, then we may not see very much of the video. But let's go ahead and watch the video. And like I said, if you got kids or something like that, you don't want them exposed to this kind of language, now would be a good time to put them up. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, Brett Keane and his explanation.
God TV Radio. I hope you're all having a good day. Well, some of you out there, you were expecting to see a
Oh, that sounded good sped up.
Canceled. I removed all the videos, including the interview with Sandra Hovind. And before you decide that you want to freak out or trip out or start leaving comments, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you what went down. So, I had been talking to Steven, who had become my new God TV Radio podcast host. And Steven told me Kent's been having a lot of issues. He's had a lot of issues with doll workers who are leaving and who have turned against him. Steven told me that it's really difficult for Kent and his crew to be able to even get around Alabama because it's gotten to the point where people are actually pulling their kids away.
Can you pause it? Oh, good, you did. All I can think of, based on what he said, how Kent Hovind saying it's hard because people are leaving, I got flashbacks thinking of that rap song, It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp. It's hard out here for a Kent.
It really is. But again, Lupin in this video and even in our conversation,
I'm sorry, I'm cracking me up.
He blows right through the hard truth about Kent. He came through the chat. The truth is hard, ain't it? But he blows right through this. Like, Lupin, when are you going to come face to face with Kent's apparent bad character? Like, it's just so weird to do all this and just it's like he's got some sort of shield up where almost nothing Kent can be accused of or can be revealed about Kent will help him realize this is not the type of guy you want to be following. It's very
This is
weird.
all according to Stephen. Stephen says that people treat Kent Hovind like an outsider down there in, I guess, Alabama. Been real tough on him, I suppose. Ever since all these videos have been blowing up out there, his former wife, Cindy Lincoln, Mark Stoney, and many others. So I got this bright idea that, well, it sounds like Kent needs some good public relations. It sounds like he needs some good PR.
Okay, real quick. Okay, just right here. Okay, 200,000 plus subscribers. Your channel, it just got to 300. Not very many people. Okay, but let's hear it.
So I talked to Stephen, and I said, Stephen, you know, Kent, back in the day, whenever he was in his prime, used to go in front of audiences, communicate with people, and talk to people. And people were able to, I guess, relate and identify with him and all that. So I figured if I do God TV Radio live show, I'd be able to help Kent out. Kent comes on the show, he does the whole smile, whack a damn SpongeBob doll. You know, it's been a long time since that little event happened. Well,
Should we count the D word as a cuss word? The darn? Should we count darn as a cuss word? I don't know.
Stephen said he talked to Kent about all that. And then whenever I eventually called up Kent and I talked to him about it, Kent didn't seem to know what I was talking about. But Stephen said that he was going to deal with all that, but he didn't. So I talked to Kent myself. And I told Kent what my idea was and my plan, and he said, oh, that's a good idea. That's really cool and all that. And I said, so I'm going to schedule a show, and then what you do is you just simply put up a 20-second video clip on your channel, let people know where to find you. That way the audience can come over, they can see what you got. But that wasn't the only deal, just to help Kent. I also needed my back scratched as well. You see, a year and a half ago, I terminated my YouTube account because my YouTube account stopped being about God, stopped being about Jesus Christ, stopped being about creationism, stopped being about the kind of things that I enjoy talking about. My YouTube channel had become a parody of what it used to be. It used to be very serious with a touch of comedy, dry Brett Keane comedy. But Kent was going through some hell with a bunch of YouTubers out there who were making video after video after video slamming him. And I was one of those guys, one of the few Christians apparently on the internet who actually knows how to work technology. I know how to run live streams. I know how to do podcasts. I know how to do all the video editing. If you need a guy who can run a damn podcast, I'm the guy you go to. Just ask anybody out there that's ever watched my stuff. I've got the coolest clips. I end up getting some of the neatest people into my room, from religious as well as atheists alike. Sometimes people of other faiths. We're well aware of this. So all Kent had to do was just simply click on a link, come in, and he does his reel. But a year and a half ago, what happened was that he was having all these problems, and he asked me directly. He said, Brett, would you be willing to host a show on your channel where I can talk about all this like drama and all this personal crap? And I wasn't exactly sure what the extent of it was. I didn't know what to exactly expect. You must understand, I'd never been down there before. I never have stood right face to face with Kent Hovind and shook his hand or got to know him. He was a man that I watched on DVDs, CDs, and even old VHS tapes back when those things were still around. My family members were heavily religious.
All right, this is so weird, y'all. I'm having too much inception here because number one, I'm kind of suspecting that Lupin, because Lupin did this after all of our shows this weekend about Kent Hovind. Sorry, about Brett Keane. So it's like me, Nitty, James, like we all do shows about Brett Keane this weekend, and then all of a sudden, Lupin wants to cover the Brett Keane Kent Hovind controversy. And then also, I think we've all been covering this whole thing, so it's just a bit much. But yeah, Lupin's on the same tip we are, which is that Brett is upset that Kent won't promote him and all of this stuff. So I don't think we need to see the whole thing, but let's tie it back up because I'm more interested in what my one black friend has to say about this and our thoughts. The issue for me is, again, he's made a stream called Am I a Bad Person? Wanting to ask the question, but really not wanting to do the work of answering the question. And then he goes on to basically attack the character deficiency of Brett Keane, who I agree with him, is using Kent Hovind, sour grapes, is butthurt because Kent Hovind won't promote him, fine. Mm-hmm. But again, now Lupin is ignoring the fact that his whole flavor of his channel is doing exactly what Brett Keane was doing, which is trying to make a name for yourself as a big-time Kent Hovind defender, never recognizing that most people, again, think Kent Hovind is a really bad dude. And they've got really good reasons for thinking that. So it's just a mess to me. It's a mess. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking maybe the video should have more titles, like also, am I an original person?
Yeah.
Maybe not. But to Lupin's point, if he wants to make one, well, we're doing the same thing he did. Our video is about his video, which is about another video. So.
Yeah, but I think he started by copying our videos first. So let's just go all the way petty with it. He started it.
Okay.
But yeah.
So I think that's something to think about. Again, if Lupin is sincere, and he's in the chat possibly still, and he can answer this. If he is sincere, what has he learned in just our video here? What has he learned since he made his video with other people responding to him? What has he changed? What will he change? Because is he a good person? Look, you can find some of the kindest people in the world, and they'll tell you, here's what I'm trying to work on. Here's what I'm trying to get through so that they can be better. Does Lupin have an answer for that now? Does he not care?
Yeah, I'm just gonna be honest. So he says what he's learned is that we're deluded, unfortunately. Yeah,
I'm deluded?
Yeah, I was like, I could, we could, but it would, I honestly think conversations with Lupin go south quickly because part of the sickness that he has is that he has to defend his abuser. And since he does, when you criticize him, and this is the problem, I think, with conversations you have with me, conversations you have with Lena, he immediately insults you and goes for low blows. With Lena, it was trying to mess with the whole gender thing. With me, it was, I need to take my meds because of the whole bipolar thing. He will look for the low blow and kick you there when he finds it. And the reason is because his mentality, since he has to defend his oppressor, is since you've criticized me, I now have liberty to attack you. And what a lot of Christians like this don't understand is we can keep our criticism perfectly in bounds relevant to the topic. If I call you a fascist, it's because you're being a fascist. If I say you're saying something hateful, it's because you're saying something hateful. But they don't have the same legitimate criticism back. But to them, they've got grounds to say something back to you, so then it's okay to insult you. Because, you hurt their feelings. You said something hurtful to them too, right? They're not allowing themselves to see the glaring difference there.
Well, then, I guess I have a Christian lesson to give to Lupin. Jesus famously, allegedly said, turn the other cheek. So if you don't like what you're being told, turn the other cheek. I'll add a reason why. Not so that you can encourage the person to do more, but if you feel so insulted by what was said, turn the other cheek so you can listen better with an ear that isn't closed to the conversation.
Right.
You have, as a Christian, you have a responsibility to be the better person. You do. And you can say, well, I'm a Christian, but I fail at things. Evidently, and I've said this before, Jesus is a doormat for people to wipe their sins on so they can enter heaven.
Yep.
As opposed to following him, he's just that mat you give to a new puppy to pee on and poop on before they learn to go outside and do it.
Yeah. And you saw him do it in the video, right? Where he said, am I a good person? Well, let's look at the 10 Commandments to see. Well, I don't really measure up to the 10 Commandments, but Jesus said I'm good to go anyway. Wipe my feet clean, and he's heavenly bound. And now he doesn't have to even grow here because he's just demonstrated to himself that he's a great person. He's the love of Jesus. He's radiating Jesus energy. And if we see anything different than that, I guess that's our problem because, again, he's just keeping it biblical.
But if we see things differently than that, that isn't our problem. that's work for him to look into. Okay, are people just being critical just so that they don't have to meet the same standard, or do they have a point? Again, turning the other cheek so that you can listen with the other ear. And
Yeah.
if he's having trouble doing that, try it.
Yeah.
Try it.
That's the real problem, and I think you'll probably find this if you do talk to him, that he's not open to that. And my thing with that at some point is, and this is my case, it's not, that everybody doesn't have the same opinion, but at this point, Lupin's a bad person, and the deal is this: he's engaged in the battle. He's engaged in what I guess he probably may feel is spiritual warfare, but we feel is a very real day-to-day social struggle that we're in, and he doesn't seem to realize his measure of if he's good is he a good soldier? Is he a loyal soldier? Right? And since he's a good soldier, he's all he's doing is following the commands he's given. That makes him a good guy. He doesn't realize he's a good soldier for the army of the dark forces, right? And he's never going to get recognition as an upstanding citizen from the people who, the Dark Empire is overlording, while the Dark Empire is literally destroying our lives. And so when then people come to take our reproductive rights, Lupin is ponying up on the front lines. When then people come to do violence and discriminate against our LGBT, Lupin is soldiering up to the front lines. Hey, look, God told us to ride out on these fools just like this. When they are coming against science and evolution and the vaccine and these different issues, Lupin is soldiering up, riding out on the front lines. So at some point, it goes back to what I said at the beginning, when I've got to quickly make judgments now, because we find ourselves in combat as well, because when they bring the combat over your hill, you're now in that conflict, whether you want it to be or not, and you've got to quickly decide, who do I fire at, and who is, good to go. At some point, Lupin, you're just with the bad guys. And I don't have time. I've tried to talk to you about these things, but at some point you're just not hearing it, and you are going to do as you believe you're commanded to do, right? Lupin is coming over that hill. He is going to be anti-science. He is going to be anti-LGBT, right? He is going to tell you that the Vegas shootings were a conspiracy by the FBI and the CIA so that the left could push gun control. He is going to push anti-abortion, reproductive rights, right? So he's going to do all of the things that we say are bad things.
All right, let's try something, because I'm looking in the chat, which I don't do a good job of on these shows. I'm looking in the chat, and I can see Lupin has typed. By the way, his name is the Wolf.
The Wolf Den, yeah.
The Wolf Den. I'm a terrible person. Ellipses. We all
are. Nope.
Ellipses. Okay, let's try something. Many of you have expressed something you don't like about Lupin.
Right.
So give it 2 minutes. Type in the chat something you actually like about Lupin.
Oh, easy.
Anything. You like his hat.
Easy.
Great facial hair. He's got a radio voice. Anything like that. Maybe you're familiar with some of his other opinions that you actually agree with him on. Just try it. I say that because, Lupin, I don't know that you're a terrible person. You are most likely not a terrible person. You're probably a person who doesn't see things clearly sometimes. So you express yourself in a way, you express your opinion in a way that isn't constructive. It isn't trying to move the world forward. And that may be because you're trying to adhere to a set of rules that don't actually work in modern times. It may have failed miserably in ancient times, but people kept publishing them because they didn't have better ideas, or they didn't integrate the better ideas into the old books. you'd be a victim of that. And if you perpetuate it, you're a priest for it. Now we can see in places where you're an apologist for it. So when it comes to the LGBTQ issue, I would encourage you to be supportive of someone who wants to be in love with someone else.
Right.
And not be critical. If you have an opinion, and you have an opinion about how to make things more open, the world more open for them, the world needs to hear it.
Yeah.
If you're just going to add to the hate, the world doesn't need to hear that. There's enough hate.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you asked for people to put something in the chat that they good that they had to say about Lupin, and for me, it's not easy to just spend 2 minutes rambling off a bunch of things I find desirable or admirable about Lupin.
Well, list
right?
whatever you can.
No, I did. I put them in the chat. So I put,
Okay,
but that's my point. It was easy for me to just rattle them off for the entire 2 minutes straight. But I think even Lupin would agree that if I were to ask him, are there good and bad people? He'd say, yep. Specifically, are there bad people? Yep. What does somebody have to do to be a bad person? He would just say that they've got to do something he considers really bad or really dangerous. And let's take an example of like Joe Biden, who I don't think Lupin would say is a good person. Okay. Or Anthony Fauci, like one of these characters that are, really bad, the bad guys in his stories. I'm sure he could sit here and admit that they send their mothers Christmas cards and they were good students and they got good grades in school and they volunteer at the local community. But he doesn't care about any of that. Right? He doesn't care about any of that. At the end of the day, he sees them as opponents because they stand for a policy he doesn't like, or they're in a position of power and he doesn't agree with the way they use that position of power, right? And so that's enough for in his mind to check them off as enemy, bad person list, right? Doesn't matter how much Joe Biden kisses his mother. If Joe Biden's classified documents is a breach of the federal trust, he's going to be happy to call Joe Biden a treasonous, whatever it is. And Uncle Bobby and I made this point about not enabling or approving of a person's abusers, right? So you have a person who's in a abusive relationship with their spouse, and Susie brings up Steve, and you shut that down. No, we're not going to sit here and talk about him. He's no good. You need to get away from him, right? You don't care. Well, he picks the children up on time from school. He makes a great steak. Oh, we really have a great time when his friends come over for the game. My parents love him. None of that matters, right? The fact that that man can keep his hands to himself is reason enough alone. Guess what? We've decided he's a bad dude, right? The fact that, he does X, Y, and Z that we feel makes him an abuser. That's it. We've decided that's right. So you could tell us about how 364 out of 365 days a year, he is just the most wonderful, honoring American, great patriot, wonderful man of God. Guess what? He screw up enough on that one day. We're gonna rule him as a bad dude, and that's what Lupin has to understand. I could sit here all day and give him compliments. He puts on his pants one leg at a time, and he always buttons his shirt, and he never curses at his mother, and great. But Lupin, you're following Ken Hovind. You're all trying to be on the Trump train. As he came in, he didn't just say that he thought Donald Trump was a great president. He came in talking about some Trump 2024, right? He wants us to go through another 4 years of Donald Trump, right? He's anti-evolution, anti-science, as far as I know, anti-vax, all of this type of nonsense. He's a dangerous person. Guess what, Lupin? Makes you a bad dude at some point. Because again, when those motherfuckers come over that hill and they have bad intentions for us, they have absolutely bad, harmful intentions for us, you are with them. You're with them. And at some point, we have to act accordingly. So he's got to shape up. Otherwise, he's just doing the meaningless thing, which is even worse if you ask me, where he acts as though he is, really trying to do some self-reflection, really looking for some criticism and feedback so he can grow, he's really using it as an excuse to not get any feedback and not grow. And if we allow that type of thing to go unchecked, then what does he do? Oh, I've checked in, I've done the self-reflection, I'm good to go. And he just feels even more enabled to continue being the type of problematic way he was to begin with. So this is bad to me.
So maybe the title should be changed to "Should I Be a Good Person?"
Right, exactly.
Or
yeah, literally.
maybe the title should be changed. Again, it depends on the motives, right? Maybe the title could be changed to "How Do I Become a Good Person?"
Yeah.
Just as a thought. Like, again, if he's just asking the question to have a topic, that's one thing. If he's ready to get some work done, to make some real changes, that's another. And maybe that's what he really wants and doesn't know how to do it, right? He mentioned a moment ago that on his gaming broadcasts, he's different, right? He might use some off-putting language or something like that. But is he not a Christian when he goes to do that? Does he just shut that part of his heart or brain off? Well, now I can curse like a sailor and let me digitally murder people and blow things up that aren't mine. Let me say the worst possible things and just be a badass. Let me not value human life because it's make-believe. Or is he a save the princess kind of guy and he's got to stomp some monsters to do it? I don't know. Lupin can answer that question.
No, I think that's a really great point. And to me, again, he's not yet ready to really do the work. And the reason I know this is because we've done it. You've done it, I've done it, and so many people in our community done it. You know what people who are willing to do the work look like, right? It's like when you you know this as a you have people who work for you, right, and work with you, and
yes,
and you have to have a lot of faith in not only what they can do, but how they can do it when you're traveling, right? You I gotta go. I can't be here watching y'all. I gotta trust y'all that y'all are in go mode, even if I'm in a different part of the world or different part of the country.
Right.
And so you got to really measure up when you're hiring these people who really wants to do this work and who doesn't. And there's probably a lot of people who would love the paycheck and they would love to work with you. They would love that praise, but you've made an assessment either of their skill set based on their resume and their past, or, you hired them for a little while and you realize they either just was too sick, or just otherwise unavailable. They can't show up on time, can't be relied upon. And eventually you have to move in a direction because why? They're clearly not capable or in a place where they're ready to do the work. And I really do feel like that's where Lupin is. And it's sort of asymmetrical. It's like looking through a one-sided glass because I don't think he can see himself that he isn't really willing and ready to do the work. But for those of us that observe his behavior, it's very obvious. Very obvious.
I think you've hit upon something I could use in an example about the hiring a good staff. I recently had to replace one of the people I work with. She couldn't return for health reasons. So after her holiday break, she couldn't come back for health reasons. So I put ads out, and I specifically said at the beginning of my job posting, I will not hire a remote worker for this position. You must report to the work site. Now, can you guess what fully 50% of the applicants asked me or told me? Will you consider hiring someone who works remotely? Will you please read my resume? I can only work remotely. So shove 20 plus years of my experience aside and tell me what you want to do rather than why you're right for what I asked for, which is a person who will come to the job site. I'll fly you in. I'll fly you in here. If I can't find somebody around, I'll fly you in.
Right.
I'll pay you per diem.
Right.
I'll put you up in a sweet hotel like I'm in.
Right. So,
and people, well, hold on, because I'm coming back to Lupin. I'm going to I'm going to pay you more than most people in the world make. You will make more money than most people in the world. Probably 80% of the people in the world will make less money than you.
Right.
Just come here and work for me. Do a fantastic job, pretty please. Okay. I get people who don't want to do what I say from the beginning. I get people who have a different idea about what I want. Now let's put this with Lupin in his faith. The Bible, even in this 10 Commandment example, laid out a set of protocols.
Right.
You get further protocols in the New Testament as to how you are to conduct yourself.
Sure.
If you come through the door, right? If you send your resume to Jesus and you begin by saying, I'm not going to do these things that you ask me to. I'm not going to comply with these. However, this set of things I'm fully qualified for. I know you need me to be, to comply with this much of the rules, but I will do this much consistently and excellently. For most Christians, those are their terms. They want a faith in God on their own terms. It is a personal relationship with God,
Absolutely.
Personal relationship with Christ. No, you just want God to meet your demands.
Absolutely. So,
so forget all the stuff you're being asked. It's not about that because
hang on. So Lupin wants to call in, and we've only got like 20 minutes. So I don't want us to keep going because if you want to take his call, then we should take
his call.
We got to go to the guest room, so we've got to pop into the one that's called the cafe. Do you have that link?
Hold on. I have my email open. If I type cafe in my email, will it search for that, or do I need something else?
Hang on, I'll give you the link now.
Okay, because believe me, I don't understand.
The
Greenhouse Cafe? No, that's something else.
No, the Flying Man Cafe. It's the other Gather link. So check it in the room chat. I just put it in the Gather chat room. In the Gather chat.
Thank you.
Link in Wolf Boy. The link is in the description. But yeah, go ahead, pop over to the.
Okay, and I should close this first one, yes?
Go over there. Yeah, you'll want to. Well, make sure you're in there first, and then close this tab.
We'll do.
Yeah, now you can close the other one.
Okay.
All right, Lupin. The link is in the description.
Yeah, show yourself, Lupin.
All right, but otherwise we can follow up with him next week. But yeah, I really do. I think that's the fundamental problem he's gonna have to deal with. Is we're not gonna agree on the standards from the beginning. So the thing that's interesting is that I will give him credit because I think he has his genuine biblical account to stand on. He has his scriptures to point to. But for us, that's just evidence that the book is not to be trusted. It's 100%, and I wish I could. I want to maybe do an episode on this either here or on my channel at some point about the fact that I genuinely believe that even those couple of passages about homosexuals is enough reason alone to leave the Bible alone. If people committed the amount of violence and discrimination against LGBT fam based on any other book in the world, that book would be banned from everything. It would. The fact that book alone has caused so much strife for the queer community. It would be, restricted to like museums and historical study and stuff like that. Nobody would be promoting said book. It's just that's just my opinion. Like, and I think this is an understated, counter apologetic that the discrimination against the queer community alone is enough reason to stop being a Christian.
Hey, Pocket Locker, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you explain to people what to do? Like,
yeah, Lupin just needs to double click on the stage. Well, we don't want, most of the people are fine. They're staying in the audience, but Lupin needs to go on the stage. He's fine.
Okay.
All right, he's used this before. Hey, Lupin, we can hear you. We've got about 10 minutes. Hello, can you hear us?
Lupin, welcome to Hot Program.
Welcome to Hot Program.
You're muted, by the way, Lupin. Oh no, that's Logan that's muted up. Forgive me.
Yeah, Logan's fine. They're in the audience. Appreciate that. Lupin, you can talk. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. You're good.
Oh, okay, cool. How y'all doing?
Good. We're good. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having a show about me without me.
Yeah, but, that was the plan. But you're I don't mind you calling in.
It was the best way to do it.
Yeah, I know you guys like it whenever I can't be there to rebut your accusations.
Well,
so
I think you guys using rebuttal as a way to. I think you use rebuttal as a way to interfere with people's ability to make points you don't like. So I do think.
Well, no, we can't just let you just sandbag somebody without them defending themselves. That's kind of a cowardly thing to do it. But anyway, let's go ahead. Well, you guys have questions or comments?
Lupin,
black friend,
my one black friend here. What is a Christian? How is Christianity defined? What does that mean?
Well, Christianity is people that would follow the gospel as it's written in the Bible and promote the Christian values in the Bible, and people that accept the gospel as truth.
All right, I'll just remind you guys we got 10 minutes, and then we can continue this next week. But go ahead.
Okay, and then I read the Bible. I've read it cover to cover multiple times, in some parts like Matthew over 100 times, Revelation probably around 200 times, John maybe 80 times. So in Mark 16:18, this is a book I've only read like 7 times. 16:18 says, "They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover." Have you tried those things?
Have I tried what?
The things in Mark 16:18, because see, it says in verse 15, and he said to them, "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved, but he that believeth not shall be damned. And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name they shall cast out devils. They shall speak with new tongues. They shall take up serpents. And if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover." So are you capable of any of the things it says here?
I haven't really tried, so I wouldn't know, but I do preach the gospel out to people.
So if you can you before next week or whenever we talk, can you try to heal people? I don't want you drinking poison. I don't want you taking up deadly snakes.
Well, I mean, I have been pronounced dead and have been come back to life through a drug overdose.
But that's just you.
Oh, okay. So you want me to, get the power of God and go have God through me and heal some people? I don't know if I can do that.
It says it's supposed to work that way.
I don't know if
This
I have.
isn't any material
I
I've
don't.
written on my.
I think you would have to have a very strong connection to God, and I think a lot of people have that kind of misconstrued, and some people like I heard you guys talking about faith healer preachers and
But
how fake they are, and yeah, they are, but.
Lupin, it's very specific. It says, in these signs, in verse 17, and these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name, they shall cast out devils, and so on and so on and so on. So simply in the name of Jesus, this is supposed to be possible if you follow him.
I've seen preachers cast out devils and demons in the name of Jesus, yes, but I haven't personally done it.
But
No.
why haven't you tried this? Did you not know about it?
No, I know that people have that power. Some people do, some people don't, but I may not have that constitution to do that.
Did you? So wait, then you don't believe in Jesus?
No, I absolutely believe in Jesus.
But this says that's all you need. That and baptism, forgive me. So you'll need baptism and just the belief. Have you not been baptized?
I was baptized as a child.
As a child. So as a child, were you able to fully reason that the things you were understanding about the Bible were completely true? Were you able to weigh the evidence, or did you just simply say, I'll go along with this?
Believe it or not, no, I had a pretty good concept of what I was doing. Yeah.
You did.
My one black friend.
Yeah.
Can we
now? I know there's limited time, Pocket Locker. So now, how do you feel about the human rights, the civil rights of homosexual people, lesbian, gays, so on and so on?
What's the question?
How do you feel about that?
How do I feel about their rights?
Yes.
I think they have the right like any other human, but I don't agree with homosexuality. But I think they have all the rights that other humans have. But
so
I personally wouldn't partake in.
You yourself are not gay?
No, I'm not gay.
Okay. So you have the right not to be gay, and you think they have the right to be gay?
Yeah, they could be gay, but I don't agree with it.
Can you live in a way where you don't agree with their lifestyle as far as their sexuality, but you can love that person because the Bible calls
I live that life every day.
You live that life every day. So
yeah. I told Lena I love her.
You don't.
I love whatever she'd be.
But
how do you know what's in my heart? I love every person.
Because you don't accept that. You don't accept. You said you feel icky. You said it's gross.
Yeah, I do. I think homosexuality is gross. Okay, I think it is immoral. There you go. That doesn't mean I can't love somebody. If I have.
What Lupin is immoral about loving someone?
No, it's the act of the same gender.
Is it the sex part? Is it the sex part that bothers you, but not the rest?
Well, it's just immoral. It's just immoral in my eyes, and in nature, it's immoral. What
is another immoral thing to do? I'm trying to understand what you mean by immorality. Immoral.
I mean, it's very clear in the Bible that a man that lays with another man is an abomination, and that's an abomination to God. So if it's an abomination to God, then what do you think that says about human?
Do you work on Saturdays?
Hang on.
Do you work on Saturdays?
He called in because he wanted to say something. So we've only got like 5 minutes left. Let's let him say. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't want him to, because he's gonna say we never let him speak. So I want to let him say what he wanted to call in.
No, I called in to answer questions.
Have a conversation. It sounded like you said there you had something particular you wanted to say. I just want to make sure you have the chance to do that.
Please say what's on your mind.
Well, what I will say is I appreciate you guys doing this because there's going to be a lot to dissect. So now I got to go on my channel and go ahead and refute everything that you guys say, because you guys take a lot of things out of context for what I say. Either that or you just don't understand. So it could be either one or the other. I tend to think you guys have selective hearing, and you want to make a boogeyman out of me whenever you know that I'm not that boogeyman. You know that I don't want to hurt you guys. You know that I can disagree with your lifestyle and still love you. I can do that.
Lupin,
I'm
do you want me to
capable.
be honest with you?
Go ahead.
I
Of
think you
course.
do. I think you're not understanding where I'm coming from, because I think you do things that are harmful to people. And let's be
Like
very
what?
clear. I think you want to. You do this because you know it's harmful to people. Your attitude against LGBT people, you know, that's a perfect example. That's the soup du jour.
But see, look, you completely ignored the fact that I said that I would tell the same thing to a heterosexual person if they're living a sexually immoral life, that I would tell the same exact thing to a heterosexual person to a homosexual person.
Lupin, do you
See,
know?
you're not
Do you know what that means to
you're
me?
not even taking that into
No,
consideration,
what
Jay.
you're doing is you're misrepresenting the issue.
No,
First
I'm
off,
not.
yes, you are, because first off, let's just be clear. I don't care what you say, because to talk to you,
Well,
talk is cheap.
then
You say you've already said that you love Lena and you love queer people. Here's what
I
you're
love the people.
misrepresenting.
I don't love their
Okay,
lifestyle.
that to me is I fundamentally reject that claim. I do
Well,
not
that's
think
on
you
you.
can love someone and feel that they're icky. I don't feel you can accept someone but reject their sexuality. That is like it's an immutable characteristic. It's like saying I love you, Jay. I just don't accept your blackness. I can't change being black any more than a person can change being trans or change being LGBT. So I get what you're saying, but I'm being very clear about it. I don't believe you. Here's the other thing.
So you think you're born gay? You think people are born gay?
People are.
100,000%.
Okay.
And
So
beyond that,
what's bi-curious?
that is a situation where somebody's sexuality is nuanced, and over time they come to understand themselves to be attracted.
So they're trying to
more
figure
than
it out.
one-
They're trying to figure it out.
No, we're all trying to figure it out. But
Well,
again,
No.
we're misrepresenting the issue.
So
Let's.
a person who is going.
I'm not. You know, I'm making a point. You know, I'm making a
No,
point.
you're being
You're not.
disgusting.
wait,
This
You're not
is-
born
this is
gay.
gross.
You're not
This is
born
proof
gay.
that you're bad.
Lupin,
You're
you're not
that
born
bad
gay.
person.
You said that people were born with a knowledge of God, right?
I think that people are born, with a knowledge that there is a higher power. They may
Okay.
not understand it as the Trinity, but they understand that there's a higher power. Yes.
Okay, so do babies, when they begin talking, start to try to have a conversation about this God? Do they? Because I've not seen it.
I think when
you
a
would see
baby
this happening all over the world, right?
I think when a baby looks at the sky and says, ooh, this is beautiful, or whatever a baby would say, that baby, they may not understand it. They may not be capable to understand it fully, but I think they can understand that there is beauty to the world, and that there's something. There's a soul. There's a soul inside of people, and they can tell that there's something bigger than humans. Yes.
I think a person could look at an elephant and know that there are things bigger than humans.
You're misconstruing it.
No.
But I'm saying they're looking at the world. I'm saying they're looking at the world and being like, wow, the world is amazing. The world that we live in is amazing. And that there has to be something that creates it. An elephant is just part of the world. That's just part of it. What I mean by
the baby.
What I mean, exactly.
And
the baby.
Too long before that, the baby was not part of the world. If you go back 10 years, it's not a baby anymore. It doesn't exist.
Okay.
All the elements that will make up that child are already in existence, but the baby is not in existence. Right?
Kind of, but I'm not understanding
Absolutely,
your point.
Not just kind of. Well, the point is, the baby comes along. The baby is introduced into the world. And if it is maybe a situation where the child is a child of people who believe in God, they begin introducing this baby to the God concept. But God doesn't feed, God of heaven does not feed that child. The parents do, the grandparents do, the brothers and sisters do. They nurture that child. The God of heaven does absolutely nothing for that child.
I think if you went
Right?
to, I think if
But
you
you
went
believe
to a
it does.
tribe, I think if you went to a tribe that's in a remote jungle and that's never heard the gospel before, that's never heard the concept of Jesus and the Bible and everything like that, and you had a translator and you asked them, how did you get here? They would probably look up to like the sky or the fish or the heavens or something like that, and they would say, I've gotten here through forces that are unknown, but they know that it's a force.
But there has been a tribe that didn't have a concept of a God at all. I think it's the Paraha. They didn't have a concept of God.
I don't. You'd have to bring that evidence to me. It may not be the God of the Bible, but it may not be the God of the Bible, but
at all.
No God concept. I don't know about that tribe. You'd have to show me the evidence. And
So when are you going to show us the evidence for your biblical claims?
If I could show you that evidence,
it's in the Bible.
If I could show you that evidence, it proves your Bible wrong. Can you?
No, not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily.
Why wouldn't it?
Because I mean, that's just one tribe,
but all you need is one tribe.
No.
If I said all crows are black and you show me an albino crow that's white, that crow is not black. My statement that all crows are black is wrong. Now you can follow that up with something nice like, oh, well, the exception proves the rule.
Well, yeah, that is an exception to the rule.
Okay. But it makes the rule false. If all crows are black, that statement would be false.
I don't know. I think that's kind of comparing apples to oranges whenever you're coming to a faith, because there's so many different faiths and everything like that. But yeah, just because you don't know the concept of God doesn't necessarily mean that it's not true. So
all right, well then I don't know why you went down that rabbit hole to begin with, but we've got to go wrap this up. And Lupin, I'll be happy to invite you back next week, and you can have the entire time to have conversation about these issues. I'm sure it'll be perfect follow up. Since you're going to be making videos about this on your channel, so we can.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go. How long has this video been? I'm gonna go and dissect it.
I'm not sure. We started probably around 3:30, 2.5 hours or so. Yeah.
Oh man, dude, you guys are killing me. Can you guys make shorter videos, please?
We always do the same format show. Thanks, Lupin. We'll see you next week. My one black friend, thanks so much. This was fun.
Hey, welcome. And hey, I'm going to put something in the comments here. I don't know how to do it really.
Put the link about that tribe.
Put it in the YouTube.
I'll be more than happy to read it.
All right, gang, we're out of here. As always, be good to yourselves
and each other.
All right, in the name of the Darwin, the Dawkins, and the Christopher Hitchens. Science bless you all. Poof.
God bless.